A person who talks to God about you is always going to be far more valuable than a person who talks about you.
Welcome, y'all, to the Just Jelly podcast. It's more than just a podcast, it's a community. Now, here's your host, Jen.
Hey, you, it's me. How are you doing? I cannot believe that I have moved to Orlando. So much change has taken about even since Easter. May was a very struggling month for me. I ended up having a great friend of mine, The Pretty Truth, sit in for a few episodes. We did a mini series, 4 episodes, The Pretty Truth Behind the Messy Middle Mondays. And I had such a good time with her. That was amazing. And I just want to do a shout out to her in this episode to say thank you for stepping in with me. I don't share you very often. This community means the world to me, but I really do appreciate her stepping in. You guys loved the episodes. Thank you so much for all your love and support. I wasn't even sure if I was going to record a season finale. I felt like, I could probably just go on my merry way and no one would ever even know the difference. But I made a commitment to myself that I was going to start what I finished. When I left my house, there was a moment when I had to really just sit down. I sat down on the floor and I just reflected for a second of this is where it all began. Just Jelly began in this house, in this room, and a podcast that was originally in my mind for two best friends, a best friend who had just went through a long drug out divorce was going to be able to just sit down and finally speak and tell her story. And the wildest part about that whole situation is I actually ended up speaking. It's wild how God has plans for us that we don't even know and how it can change us. Have you ever just sat down and looked at how far you've come? I did a June challenge on my TikTok and I asked everyone to sit down, record yourself in June. I'll meet you back in January and let's see where we're at because I'm just thinking of how much I have changed over the last 6 months. Moving does something to us. I cleaned out my closets, I got rid of things. Things just shifted and changed at such a rapid speed. I didn't even know how to process it all. I have people in hanging blinds. I've got construction going on, just 100 things. But I felt you were important and I owed you one last conversation for season 4. So before we dive in, I always like to check up and check in and see how your summer is kicking off. What are your summer plans? My daughter and I are getting ready to go celebrate her senior year. We are traveling abroad for all of the remainder of June and July. We're going to Athens, Milos, we're going to Rome, Paris. Paris has been on her bucket list since American Girl doll came out with I don't even remember her name, but it was one of the dolls that was in Paris and she had the little beret. And Marley has just always been fascinated with Paris. This morning, it really, I think, made me feel the urge to record this even more so because I had a swarm of emotion come over me. And I had to remind myself that it is okay not to have it all together. We don't have to have a perfect plan in place to just take that first step. This trip would have been a trip that we would have gone on as a girls' trip. All three of us, my oldest daughter, we would have celebrated her achievements. We would have had a great time. And we're just still in this estrangement, this in between the middle. It's messy. And so it's bittersweet. And I'm having to learn how to move forward while still grieving and showing up differently. It doesn't mean that the grief is gone. It just means that I am carrying it a little bit differently. And I'm hoping that by the time I'm done hiking through Spain, that I will have laid it down and been able to not necessarily let it go. There will always be a door there, but maybe it'll hurt just a little less. These past 2 years have been the hardest years of my life. You showed up for me when you didn't have to, and I wanted to use this episode not only to talk about what I've learned in season 4 and the things I've been diving into over the past few months, but really just say thank you. Thank you for being my friend, for listening, for following, supporting me in everything I do. I finally gave myself permission to speak. It has taken me 5 years to write my book. I'm going to do a special episode on that, the journey behind it. But I remember the very first book cover that I printed 5 years ago. That's crazy to even think about that I held on to it for that long. But I think it took that long for God to show me who I needed to become before giving myself that release to speak. Because if I would have spoken 5 years ago, it would have probably been from the wound. It would have been from the anger, the hurt, and the pain. It wouldn't have been from the scar. And even though I was still going through this dark period in my life, it offered me an opportunity to heal. I think that's how you can really tell when something has been written from the heart. That is one thing that AI can never take from us is our emotions, our heart, our trauma, our stories. You can feed stories in to AI, but it's never going to write it the same as if you're processing it. And that's what I was doing. I was healing out loud in real time. You followed me along for that journey. You sat with me, and I appreciated it more than you would ever know. I wanted to talk about something that I wanted to talk about. I have my phone with me too because my mind in midlife has been a little crazy. I'm not going to lie. I wanted to talk about a couple of the lessons that I have learned in season 4. And since it is season 4, I figured what better way than 4 lessons that this season has taught me that I don't feel like enough people are talking about. And then it's watered down. And it struck me the other morning. I posted about it in our Messy Middle Facebook group. I've been studying Luke. I've been doing a deep dive into Luke. And I tell you, the first 10 chapters I've had to read again, and every time I take one more thing away when I read it. That is probably the most powerful book that you can read if you're going through a messy middle. If you feel like you need more, or maybe you have felt forgotten. And that is where my lessons for season 4 really comes from. Is lesson the first thing that I really learned, which was probably the hardest lesson. I start with my soil. That's the first lesson that I learned. And you guys you kind of know the story already of my daughter got sick. She said growing up was harder than she expected. I will never tell her story on here. That's her story to tell. I always just talk about my experience as a parent when it comes to estrangement. And I don't talk about it a whole lot because I don't think that that is an area that you can tell someone else how to feel, what to do, what happened, what to say. Because I can say through my grief, I would have probably, depending on the day when I woke up, I would have probably held to whatever the person was speaking on the other side of TikTok, a podcast, whatever was happening in that moment. I would have held on to that if it was saying what I was feeling. If I was feeling angry and they said, be mad, that would have been my permission slip to some degree of, okay, I can just be mad now. And I've had to learn that grief and happiness can live in the same room. That has been the hardest is you have to watch what you're planting, who you're letting into your garden, what you're planting, because the seeds that pop up will be the seeds that grow there. And if you have negativity, if you have allowed things that no longer align stay in your garden, the soil will dry up. You won't be able to even water your own soil because you will be trying to love or grow or heal from emptiness. If you have nothing to give, if you're already at zero, you can't water your own soil. I was such a people pleaser. I was so broken. Even when I first moved the last time to Destin, I had been separated, trying to date. I had felt rejection. I had been bullied, told so many negative things online, on social media. And I was just hurt that I was letting anyone, anything thing, I was a yes man. I thought, okay, I need more in my life. I need adventure. I need something. So now I'm just going to be yes. We've all seen the movie. Yes, right? A day of yes. I was having years of yes. I thought if I say yes to everything, I will eventually find out who I am and who I'm becoming. But in doing that, in becoming I was already a people pleaser, but it was 10 times worse. It was a multitude of things. I had lost my words. I felt like I couldn't speak. I felt as if I could not take up space. And even still today, when my anxiety heightens, I sometimes have to say, I am allowed to take up space. As crazy as it sounds, one of the triggers is going to the airport and knowing that I have to lift my bag off the ground and into the luggage rack above me, thinking, am I going to be able to do it? I need to do it quicker because there's people behind me waiting, instead of saying, okay, I am allowed to take a minute to put my bag up there. I am allowed to have as much space as the person behind me. That was very hard, tending my soil, because I was just always taught, love thy neighbor, right? You don't say no. I've had to really dive deeper into my Bible studies and decide what I believe versus what I was taught, because there was so many misconceptions there in what I was told to believe and what I actually believe after doing many deep dives over the past couple years. So when I say that, one of the things that I posted about was a person who talks to God about you is always going to be far more valuable than a person who talks about you. I was letting people bully me, gossip about me, talk negatively about my relationship, my daughters. It was just complete chaos, and I wasn't able to speak and say, that is a boundary. I thought a boundary was being selfish, was offering an inconvenience instead of people pleasing. If I people please, they will love me. If I do, or I say yes, or I do more, then they are going to love me. They'll see me. I can't stress enough about how once I identified my insecurities and I really started tending to my own soil, digging up the roots that had dried up and died, the ones that were no longer serving me. Even when my ground was unfruitful and there was no flowers, it was just dried soil needing to be tended. As challenging as that was, as difficult as it was to do, because it's hard. It's extremely hard for me because I feel like loyalty should be a lifetime. Not everyone was meant to go into the next season of life. So, really, just knowing that you can rewrite your story and start over as many times as you need. You can plow that garden up and start with a fresh ground if you need to. It's really taking that moment to pause and look at the ground. That's where we really need to start. And that was one of the biggest lessons I learned this season. The second lesson I learned from Luke 8, I'm starting with Luke 8 because I feel like Luke 8, 9, and 10 have just had my heart, and he's just been holding it in his hands. And I've just been reading through it. And every time I read through it, I get something else. Was the storm. The disciples were scared when the wind picked up. When the storm started, they shake Jesus and they're just screaming. I've always been kind of right the opposite. And maybe that's the lesson that I'm learning, and that's the realization that hit me straight over the face is I have felt like I have lived in a storm my entire life. I did not take the easy road. I started working when I was 16. I was very much dedicated to work. I've always been a workaholic. I was emancipated at 16 due to a car accident that I had. It's just always felt like a constant struggle. I graduated early. I dated a lot of unfortunate people. It was just toxicity. None of it was positive for me, for my children. A lot of bad things happened to me. And one day I will have the strength, if that's God's will, to tell my entire story. I don't know. I don't know if I will or not. But when the storm hits, I always hit my knees. That has never really been my struggle. My struggle that I took away from when they were in the storm in Luke 8 was when the sky is sunny. and the waters are calm, I think I forget because I don't know what to do with myself. I tend to have to remind myself, it's more important to me to journal and do my morning devotion and have my tea than it is anything else in my life. God comes first. I wake and I worship. That is a non negotiable in my life now. But it wasn't always that way. That did not start until season 4. That did not start until I was starting my healing journey. Is I was going to wake and worship. I do the 5 W's. I talked about that in a panel that I sat on for a ladies group. When women come to me, I've coached hundreds of women. That is the first thing I tell them is it's the easiest plan is your 5 W's. You wake, you worship, you work out, you move your body, you work to move your mind, you whisper to God throughout the day, and then you wind down. And when you do those small steps, as simple as that sounds, when you wake before you let the noise of the world in and you worship, that's going to be what really shifts your mindset, changes how you show up, what you say. It really is just life changing. Then, when you start adding in your walking, you're getting your mind going, you're getting motivated. I don't care if it's just to the mailbox. When you're working, it's less is more in midlife. I used to work morning, noon, and night. I'd wake up at 4 a.m. I'd take my kids to school. It was always about being a workaholic, but I have learned success is not defined by the amount of hours you clock in every day. If you're working effectively for 1 hour, you may get the same amount in that 1 hour as you do the entire time. And when the storms hit, because you have implemented this into your life, you're grounded, you're aligned, your mindset is ready, you're not going to wake up kicking and screaming and yelling. And it's odd to think that I am calmer in a storm than I am when life feels good. That's how unsteady my life has felt. The third lesson I had to learn, and I'm going to try not to cry on you guys, was in Luke chapter 8, the last few verses. A woman reaches out to touch Jesus, and the crowds are noisy. It's loud. Just imagine you're outside. She didn't have the strength to speak. She didn't have enough energy. All she could do was reach. And when I read that, I thought, I've been there. When my daughter first found out she was sick, I was a mess. I was out of the country. Things were happening. I returned. And upon my return, we then immediately started I went into fix it mode, right? But when my daughter decided to go no contact and estrangement started and it kicked in, I was that woman on the floor in tears, just reaching. I didn't have the strength to speak or say anything. Honestly, I didn't even feel like I was good enough to speak. I wasn't capable of saying anything. That storm was not just a storm, it was like something that just came in and wiped out my whole world of everything I thought was true, everything that I thought was good, everything that I knew changed right there in that one moment. And all I could do was reach. But the part of the story that really gets me, as teary eyed as I almost became just talking about that portion of the verse, Jesus paused. He didn't have to. He paused long enough because he knew what her heart needed. And he looked at her and said, "Daughter." And when I read that, there was something else about it. It wasn't just that he healed her physically because she'd been bleeding for 12 years. He knew that because she didn't know what was wrong, she didn't know what to do, she had lost her voice, she had no strength, she had also lost her identity. She didn't know who she was. She didn't find herself worthy. And he knew she just wanted to be seen. And he called her daughter. And I just cried because I think of all the titles I carry, but that is not what he called her. He didn't call her author, coach, wife, mom. That's the word he chose, daughter. Not all the other titles. For 2 years, I have slowly been losing those titles. It was just kind of scattered. I was separated. I was together. I was dating. I wasn't. That was constantly shifting. All those titles. And then my daughters and my stepchildren were growing up and moving out. So I was losing the title of stepmom and mom. I wasn't hearing it. I didn't necessarily lose the title. I will always be their mom, but I lost hearing their voices being called those titles. What titles do you hang on to? What titles are you losing? Is your voice tied to those titles? Because mine was. I knew I was born to be a mom and I knew exactly how to perform in that role, what was expected of me, which was to take care of my children, provide for them, love them, nurture them, give to them. But I had tied so much of myself to that title that when that title shifted, I didn't really know what to do anymore. I couldn't perform my own life and I didn't know who Just Jen was to even start walking in my own life. And just in a few short months, I'm becoming an empty nester. And I couldn't even think of the U-Haul pulling up to my house and me driving it to my daughter's apartment. I wanted her to be able to move in, find her voice, her footing, decide what she likes, what she wants and doesn't want. She knows that I love her, but I'm going to be in Spain when she moves out because my heart, I didn't feel like could take it. And I didn't want my emotions to overshadow her excitement, her being scared in any way. And her father is so much better at those dynamics. He's not near as emotional as I am. So he's going to do that. But I always carried all those burdens for so many years. I carried everything everyone was feeling, every need, every desire. I carried that and I'm not carrying that anymore. I'm giving myself permission to let them carry their own emotions and weight and just tell me what they need instead of immediately going into fix it mode. Because I have faith that God knows what she needs more than I could ever know what she needs. These are some hard lessons. I've learned a lot through this season. I always tell anyone if you want to learn something about yourself, if you want to grow or heal or change, start a podcast, write a book, start a business, or do all of that in 1 year like I did. I'm just kidding. It took me a long time to write my book. I shouldn't even joke about that. That was like a 5 year process, but I have learned so much. And these lessons, they didn't come easy. I know what they cost. And if you're willing to take that first step, you're going to know what they cost too. But know that you don't have to walk through them alone. And the last lesson I learned in season 4, lesson number 4, is just keep walking. At the end of Luke 9, a man that was a father with a dying daughter ran to Jesus and he begged him to come. Come, Jesus, just come with me. And Jesus went with him. But along the way, he stopped. It wasn't a direct route. He didn't just go straight to the daughter. Jesus stopped along the way. He stopped for the bleeding woman, stood there with his child running out of time. Would you be able to keep walking? Would you be able to stand there patiently? That's a hard one because I'm sitting in that right now. Lesson 4 is what I'm sitting in. I'm sitting in a situation that is so far beyond my control that I just have to pray about it and I have to let it be in God's hands and I have to wait for his timing. I just have to keep walking. I have to learn how to live while also still grieving. Would you be able to keep walking? I think I keep asking myself that. I'm walking across Spain 250 miles in the quiet stillness. Probably ask it 50 more times, 100 more times. I don't know. This morning, I wasn't sure if I was going to record this episode because it would have been very easy for me to just pack my bags, go get on a plane. I literally leave tomorrow. Now I will have to download, upload, edit, all these different things. That's what it was going through my mind. I thought, somebody, maybe you are that somebody. Or maybe I'm the somebody. Maybe I just needed to use my voice and speak it. Maybe God just wanted me to speak these 4 lessons, or maybe there's someone out there who needs to hear it. But my lesson this morning was he sent 72 people out. And he said, go before me to the different cities. If you feel welcomed, stay, eat, drink. If you don't feel welcomed, dust off your shoes from the dirt of that town and keep going. He sent them with no supplies, no training. There wasn't a plan. And I felt like, okay, I can record this episode. That's what he's telling me is I need to record this for you, for us, and honor our relationship together because you've showed up for me. So I'm showing up for you today in this moment because what if the whole purpose of life is not to have a plan, to not know the next steps. I often think I heard a creator say the other day, a flashlight only puts off enough light just to see what's around you. I did an episode about the lighthouse and how you can find the light in the dark. But if you never sit alone, you can't hear the voice. If you're constantly trying to prepare for the next step, maybe it's just starting before you're ready. You have to be willing to just reach, maintain your soil, take the first step, just reach. When the storm hits, be prepared. Know you belong to Him, daughter, son, and whatever situation you're sitting in, no matter how impossible it may seem, anything is possible with Him. All things are possible through Him. If you're needing a roadmap, maybe He just wants you to go forth. I am terrified to go to Spain in August. I'm terrified of who I'll be when I come back because I'm not going to be the same person. I'm terrified of what will have changed here in my everyday life. I'm still going to be seeing my clients while I'm over there. I've already arranged my schedule for my rest days and my days down and timing, all that. I already have all that fixed. How much other things will change here? My daughter will have moved out while I'm gone. So my house will sound differently when I get back. Will the dogs remember me? Will my relationships be different? Will they be the same? Will they be stronger? I am questioning all those things. And that's the point of this episode is I have had to learn these lessons, but yet I still have to remind myself of those same lessons. You're not alone. I love that my Bible app, where I do a lot of my studying from, sends me a notification in the mornings and I will see it. Well, yesterday morning, I saw the verse, I read it, but I had my Bible right next to me. So I was reading through it because I was doing a deep dive into the 3 chapters because I knew I wanted to write this episode. I just didn't know how I was going to record it. My studio's not ready. I just moved in. I had construction workers, dogs, noise. It was just a lot of chaos, a lot of transition. And I just thought, I'm just going to forget it. I'm not going to record it. I'm done. But I thought, that's what the enemy wants is for me to just think it's easier for my voice to go unheard, to question everything, to doubt myself and my choice to go to Spain because I have doubted it. Like, who am I? Okay, squirrel. That's where we went with this. Sorry. Back around, I was on the Bible app. I don't know how I got off onto something else, but my Bible app gave me the verse. I read it. I was reading the Bible. I didn't open it. This morning, it didn't start me back at 0. It said, would you like to continue your, what is it called? Let me go back over here and see. What is this called? What is it called? It's like this little see it up there? It's this lightning bolt. It's how many days you've opened your Bible consecutively. It didn't take me back to 0. It let me just resume. That's how life is. If you take a pause for a day, you don't go back to 0. You just resume. If you are feeling like you're in the storm or you're wherever you see yourself at in this episode, whichever lesson you're sitting in, or maybe you're sitting in all 4 of them, because I've learned that so often storms, hardship, transitions, they don't knock on the door one at a time. They show up uninvited, and usually it's a household. It's not just one problem, it's 50 problems. So wherever you're sitting at today, this is your permission to move, to speak, to live, to love, to hope again. And if you're not sure how to do that, join the Facebook community, the messy Facebook community. Go out to silent to spoken and put your heart on the map of where you're at. We have over 250 people on that map right now who has either found healing in the process, just starting, but we're all together. I want to know where your heart is at on the map and where you're at. We are in it together, you and I. And I just want to tell you, I love you. Each and every one of you have showed up for me in so many different ways, and I appreciate it so much. To everyone who was a guest co-host or a guest this season on Just Jelly, you're amazing. I appreciate you more than you know. Silent to Spoken, A Woman's Journey Through the Pause drops October 6th today. I got to see the actual inside of the book for the first time. I got to see the words on the page laid out. It was an emotion I wasn't prepared for because it took me 5 years to give myself permission to give my words to someone else to read them because I was so afraid that I wasn't going to be enough. I wasn't going to be good enough. It wasn't going to be enough. I'm no longer seeking that validation because I am his daughter. That's validation enough for me. And that makes me feel like true alignment has arrived. I have arrived or something. And that's not to say I'll never have another bad day or crash out. I crashed out this morning. I cried over the book. It was a joyous moment. And immediately after was I miss my daughter. I wish she was here. I wish she'd just knock on the door, send an email, something. It could just be, hey, it could be a blank email, just anything from her to see that there's hope there. I immediately started crying over that. It's like you can be happy and sad and restart and start and pause and resume as many times as you need to. And that is the biggest takeaway from season 4, and we have done it. This is the end of season 4, guys. Season 5 will look like there is no agenda out there. You know me, I'm a hot mess. I do want to come back and do a mini series of my journey through Spain. I want to talk about the Discovery Diaries. I'm keeping a diary through all my travels over the next month. And then the whole 31 days I'm over there, I will have my diaries and I want to talk to you about it when I get back. I do know I am loving the pen pal section on the Just Jelly website. You guys are burning that up. You are talking to me. I love it. I have been trying to get back to you every single day, but I will be in a different time zone over the next month. And I will not be checking it every single day, but I will be on it. So please continue writing me, DMing me, giving me your notes, your pen pal. I love being pen pals. I always loved passing notes in high school. I still have my notes in a box. I didn't throw them away even through this move. So I keep all your guys' notes. I love you so much. Please don't quit in the quiet. I know that this season of life can be messy. It can get quiet and it can be a struggle, and you're not alone. That's what, if you don't take any other lesson from season 4, you are not alone. We are all in the same boat trying to figure out how to row together, communicate together, and heal together in real time. All right, y'all. This is it. Season 4 has come to a close. I'm going to miss our chats over the next couple months, but just know when I come back, I will have stories that will be ready to be spoken. I will have new guests, and we're in a new house. I'm going to take you on a tour. We're going to have a new studio. I am excited for this next chapter, and I'm excited for your chapter too. I love you. Just remember, the deeper you dive, the sweeter it gets. And just stay sweet out there and don't quit in the quiet. And check out justjelly.com. I love you. Bye.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Just Jelly Podcast, or check out our website, justjellypodcast.com. DM Jen with any questions, topic suggestions, or if you would like to make a guest appearance. And don't forget to follow, rate, and review the Just Jelly Podcast. Remember, greatness has no boundaries, and the power to create change lies within each of us. Thanks again for your support, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Just Jelly Podcast.